All right. We doing the music or what?
Let's go music. Let's music it up.
We got to speed it up, though.
Yeah, we got to go fast.
Can you hear it?
Wait, maybe not. All right, okay.
Alrighty.
I'm kind of vibing to myself.
Let's see. We got to get ready.
Oh, I just said vibing.
Vibing?
There's a little foreshadowing about what's about to go down today.
All right. Let's get into this. This is an emergency meeting that we have. I flew in all the way from Kansas just for this.
Tyler literally left his hotel room at 3:00 in the morning just so was it earlier than that?
Depends on what time zone you're at, but yeah.
Just so he could get here so we could pump out an emergency podcast.
It's not because I didn't make it to Championship Sunday, but
it has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're going to get right into this. So, emergency meeting with everyone here. I'm here with Jimmy, host, Tyler, host, and we're going to break what we know. This is going to be a shorter video, we hope, just kind of giving an outline, a timeline of everything that's transpired up until this moment.
Yes.
And then we're going to do another video where we go into a little bit more detail on Q&As. We posted that out, and we got a lot of questions for me, Jimmy, and just kind of what's going on. So, Jimmy, from your understanding, you've been very involved. You broke some of the best news out there, breaking news. But yeah, just kind of give us a rundown of everything that's transpired up till now.
Yeah, so we'll back up to, I believe was it November or December of 2022, November. So for people that don't know, that watch the show, that maybe, my aunt and uncle watch the show, and they're not like big pickleball. So MLP, Major League Pickleball, PPA, Professional Pickleball Association, are the two main organizations, I would say. However, they're different. PPA is more of a tour-based model, individual-based model. MLP obviously is more of the team-based model.
Team format. Yep.
Team format. MLP was always been, in my opinion, more of an event, where PPA was more of an actual tour. Okay. Now, MLP and PPA couldn't come to an agreement last year. And so PPA decided to form their own event tour, as I'll call it. I'm going to call it an event tour called Vibe.
Vibe Pickleball.
Vibe Pickleball, VIBE. They signed, the two big names they signed right off the bat were JW Johnson and Dylan Frazier.
And that was very surprising because up until then, JW and Dylan were not with PPA. They were with APP.
They were with APP, yep. And they switched from APP to Vibe.
To play in the Vibe Pickleball League.
Which was huge. Well, shortly after that, the PPA and Major League Pickleball actually came to an agreement. Okay, so their agreement was that they would merge. Part of that merger, we don't know all the terms of that merger, obviously. The rumors are that Connor Pardo was offered 20%. We know that Connor and Tom Dundon were also given teams, the Utah Black Diamonds and the Seattle Pioneers.
I believe it was more than 20%, but yes.
Yes. There's also two other teams that are Vibe teams that people may not be aware of, the Arizona Drive and Dallas Pickleball Club. Mark Cuban was essentially supposed to be running Dallas Pickleball Club.
Yes.
So there was 4 Vibe teams that were added to the MLP. So throughout this last year, they had an entire season of MLP. And the PPA was allowing their players to play in MLP. Because previous to this, for those that don't know, in 2022, there was an entire MLP season without PPA players.
Without the contracted
PPA players. So that's why it was probably not as high level of players, obviously. Ben Johns, Annalie Waters, Tyler Loong wasn't playing in it, Catherine Parento, Lucy and Matt, none of them were playing it. Okay, so fast forward now, they play an entire season together, but they have not actually signed the deal.
A lot of people thought that the deal had gone through, but it never officially went through.
It didn't go through, but they did have a term sheet, and they felt good about the term sheet. And so they play season 1. They draft for season 2. We're getting ready to start season 2 now in September in Atlanta. And
3 weeks away from now.
3 weeks away. 2 Sundays ago, we had Connor Pardo on our podcast. We have not released it. I don't know if it'll ever be released at this point.
If you guys pay us, we can send you a direct link.
Yeah, we can send you a direct link. Yeah. Connor basically told us that they were essentially ready to announce the MLP schedule. And that the MLP was, like PPA and MLP, it sounded like it was going to be business as usual. We'll just say that, right? And they were going to announce it, and they had some new exciting things, and in fact, I don't know. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for this, but MLP was going to be part of the PPA tour stop, which shows you how cohesive they were at the time. Well, then MLP, the main negotiator for MLP, Zubin, resigned.
Okay, he steps down.
He resigns.
About 1 week ago, 1 to 2 weeks ago.
A week ago,
yeah.
He steps down. Steve Kuhn, our understanding is he goes radio silent. And all of a sudden...
and he hires or puts somebody he knows in that position.
In the position that Zubin was in. Giulio Di Pietro, right?
I believe so. I'm not sure. Yeah, that sounds
puts
familiar.
Him in that position, and they go radio silent on the PPA. Connor has said that he knew something was up because everything was great on the up and up, and then all of a sudden he gets he's not hearing from them anymore. So today's Sunday, so it was on Friday.
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday, it breaks that MLP is going to go off on their own, and they're no longer going to do the deal with the PPA.
And they're signing top players.
And all of a sudden, they're signing top players. All of a sudden, it was an arms race. Okay, we'll say that. But here's what's wild: the owners of MLP did not know about this. They had no clue that Steve Kuhn had done this. So a little bit of backstory: Top Notch Management, Sam Flaxman, who he's going to be hated by the PPA. He's going to be a legend for the players, in my opinion, for this. But Sam Flaxman went to Top Notch Management after he left the PPA. He was the player liaison for the PPA. Sam and Top Notch, essentially, my understanding is they took their players to MLP and they said, I've got 20 players that are willing to sign with you if you break off from this deal from the PPA. And what happened was Steve Kuhn took those 20 players. They all signed the Tuesday before. And they signed NDAs.
I don't know if all of them did, but I think there were maybe a couple.
Yes, there's a majority. And they signed NDAs. Even the ones that didn't sign had NDAs that they couldn't talk about this. And he said, if I can deliver this number of players.
Did you sign an NDA?
I did not, thank goodness. I would never sign an NDA. I would ruin my career. He said, if I deliver this number of players, can I get the board votes necessary to pull out of this PPA deal? And they essentially were like, yeah. And so he gets the board votes, pulls out of the deal. The owners find out when we all find out at the same time.
Yeah.
Owners' initial reaction, they were pissed at Steve. And they were literally talking about war. The exact quote that I have received from an owner, one of them, from two different owners, one of them said, this is warfare. The other one said it was a sneak attack. And they're talking about Steve Kuhn. They're not talking about the PPA. They're not even upset at the PPA at this point.
Yeah.
They're talking about Steve Kuhn. So what Steve's vision was is we don't need the PPA. We can break off from the PPA. So he rallies his owners together and he says, look, this is the vision. I already have this many players. Let's go get everybody else. And we don't need the PPA. Let's start signing people. So PPA, their reaction to that is we got to start signing people.
So a little more background. From what we can imagine, this was kind of in the plans for quite a while.
Yeah, it totally was definitely orchestrated behind the scenes.
PPA had zero idea
Yes.
about this. They found out when everybody else found out, essentially.
Yeah.
And so they were scrambling. They were on their feet. They didn't have time to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And this was all done during a PPA tournament.
Not only that, but Brooks Wiley, the MLP commissioner, started making phone calls that Thursday morning at like 6, 7 a.m. to players to try and get them to sign. And PPA had no clue. So PPA is already going to be way behind the 8 ball.
Yep.
There were players signing with MLP before PPA even got word that this was happening.
Yeah.
And so now it's this huge, massive scramble. It's PPA versus MLP. It's become this crazy divide. Yeah. And they are scrambling to sign players.
And these contracts, they're big for pickleball. These are massive for pickleball.
We're talking 3-year guaranteed deals. And I would say the average deal that I've seen is over $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
And we're talking medical, 401k. Yeah. The MLP is essentially saying you're going to have more time off, which again, once you look at these contracts, that actually becomes a little bit debatable. MLP is offering $5 million in prize money. There's all these things that they're offering and they're throwing out there to these players. And a lot of players signed immediately. Well, the PPA has come back and, it's Connor Pardo. Like, you think Connor Pardo is going to lay down?
Or Tom Dundon.
And they're going to lay down? Absolutely not. They have come back. And I would say that the size of the PPA contracts are larger, probably by $100,000 in the MLP contracts.
I think it varies from player to player.
Yes. Yeah. Now, there's other factors in there. All the contracts are different, obviously. There's other factors. But at the end of the day, the players are, assuming this all comes to fruition as it's going right now, the players, for the first time probably ever, are getting taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said this. If you were in the top 5, maybe the top 10, you were making good money, really good money.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you were really not making all that good of money. I mean, it had to be a grind. You're teaching camps, you're teaching clinics, it's just not ideal. And so when these players are presented with guaranteed $1, $2, $3, $4, $500,000 contracts, I mean, their eyes just widen.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm getting a call right now from someone's agent. Anyways, so it's wild. It's a crazy thing that's happened. Here's the thing is you always know that there's two sides to every story, and the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. I think that we can definitely confirm that the way this went down with the board and things like that, we know that Connor was blindsided. Connor actually sent out a note to the shareholders of the MLP, and he said that the MLP violated the terms of the term sheet. The term sheet actually stated that neither side would negotiate with the other side's players. So that has litigation written all over it.
Yeah, there's a lot up in the air right now.
Yeah, because that was, that's what it said in the term sheet. And and essentially, in the PPA's defense, the PPA loaned their players to the MLP. Yeah. These were contracted MLP players. Your contract PPA players. Like, your contract is with the PPA.
Correct.
So you're a contracted PPA player. They allow you to play in the MLP under the assumption that a merger was coming. And then the MLP goes and poaches these players. Yeah. So I see Connor Pardo's ire in this. I see him being pissed off. I totally get it. And now it's just become this crazy, like it's like NBA free agency.
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot that I have to be extremely careful of because I've been talking to a lot of players and stuff like that, and I respect what they tell me. And so some of the times I can or cannot say what they've repeated to me, but I was downstairs in the hotel lobby yesterday, and I kid you not, there was a conference room, and they literally had spreadsheets up there, and they were going through the list of names. Has this person been contacted? They had the dollar amount. They had what they could offer, just everything like that. I mean, it was the closest thing that I've ever seen to like basketball or football free agency, like you said.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, we did a live podcast yesterday, and literally on the air, it broke that Riley Newman had signed with MLP. But what's crazy is PPA had posted a graphic earlier that they had signed Riley Newman. Yeah. And it's back and forth. And I'll tell you this right now. The players that have announced with the MLP, right? I know that there's big buyouts in those. I've heard that there's massive buyouts in those contracts. But I still don't think this is done. I still think we may see players on both sides flop.
Yes, to some extent. I mean, it's going to get very sticky. Yeah. And from what I've heard, one of the competing organizations, they were posting some of the players before they had actually officially signed the contract. Yeah. And they were doing that essentially to say, oh, we already have this person. Yeah. And then the other tour would call that person and they said, no, I actually haven't signed yet. Yeah. And so this is in the past 1 to 2 days. So this is probably already done now.
And what it was is they were trying to be first to market, right?
Exactly.
And the thing is, in a situation like this, what MLP's whole idea is they were trying to get critical mass. They were trying to get enough players where all the rest of the players were like, well, this is where everybody's going.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much to unwind from, but I mean, this was during a tournament. Yeah. So many players were tripping out, literally tripping out. I mean, you see some first round exits that you never see. I mean, not to make an excuse for other players or anything like that, but I mean, their minds, I mean, this is their career, and they are literally given hours to choose.
So the offers were what they called exploding offers. Like I know, I can speak on this. I think I know Tyler's offer from one organization. I think they gave him 2 hours.
Mine?
Yeah.
It was more than that, but it was a set time limit. Yeah.
Yeah. They gave a set time limit. They're telling them these expire at midnight. We're moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
So just real quick, the strategy of each organization was interesting to me. Okay. So I want to talk about that just for a second. We know that the top 2 players in the world, the one thing that we know for sure, there's no debating in pickleball at all. Anybody who says different just doesn't know the sport. But Ben Johns is the number 1 male in the world. Annalie Waters is the number 1 female.
By far.
By far. It's not close. There literally is zero debate. Like other sports, you're like, who's the GOAT? Who's the this? There's no debate in pickleball. Right? Like it's not Michael Jordan and LeBron. Literally, Ben is Michael and LeBron. Jordan. Yes. Well, yes. But I'm just saying Ben is Michael and LeBron.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no debating of who the top players are. So PPA seems that when this went down, their number 1 priority was to retain the top players.
Yes, and that's always been their goal. They've always wanted to have the best talent competing in their league.
And one thing Connor said to us on our unreleased podcast, we asked him how MLP and PPA can coexist, which, I mean, obviously we're great journalists because the fact that we asked that before this even happened.
I was actually about to wear my Vibe pickleball.
You should have. Yeah, you had it. You brought it down. Yeah, you had it. But Connor said, they can coexist because the PPA is the only tour in the world where you find out who is number 1.
Yeah.
We are the only tour that can find out who is number 1 in the world because it's not a team event.
Yeah.
And that has been his thing for a really long time. He has been harping on that. He's been very, very, adamant that is what the PPA provides.
Yeah.
An opportunity to test yourself and find out who's number 1.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that Connor's strategy was to go after the number 1 players. So he retains Ben Johns. He retains Annalie Waters.
There's a little bit of speculation that they were talking to MLP, but obviously that didn't turn out. Yeah.
I mean, there was speculation that both of them, and honestly, they're stupid if they don't hear offers. I mean, I have heard that Ben has talked to, like he'd be stupid not to at least get an offer. I mean, if somebody throws him a $10 million offer, why wouldn't he do it? And I'm not saying that, but why? You got to hear him out.
Yeah.
And so as of right now, as far as we know, this could obviously, like I said, I'm telling you, this is very fluid.
Very fluid. Everything's changing.
Yes. But
by the minute.
But as of right now, Ben Johns and Annalie Waters are staying with PPA.
Yes. And I think they've signed and everything like that.
So it's, yes. But although there was some speculation that they only put Ben for 2024.
No, it's a 3-year deal.
It is. He signed a new contract. Yeah. You're confirming he signed a new deal.
Yes.
It's not his old, because
from what I've heard, he has.
Yeah. Because the speculation was they were just announcing his old deal. So let's assume that those 2 stay PPA. Yeah. So now you have the 2 best players in the world. Then they went and they retained Lucy Kovalova and Matt Wright, who obviously I would say most people would say Matt's top 5, right? Then they retained you, right? So
they took forever to post me. I was hoping to be their first post.
I know they weren't. Callie Smith, Elise Jones, Jay DeVilliers. Now the people that are still out. Oh, Colin Johns, obviously. Is going to go where Ben goes.
Your favorite?
Yes. Lee Waters is coming out of retirement, it sounds like, to play.
I don't know about retirement because she's been with an injury.
Coming back with her injury. Yeah. And then the other, I think, massive signing, in my opinion, is they kept Catherine Parento.
Yes.
So, arguably they have.
But it was funny. This was all on Saturday morning. And if you follow the 2 social medias, MLP and PPA, they both were just releasing all of these announcements. And it's just so funny. It seemed like they were trying to one up each other and just kind of.
So they went for those OGs and those top players. And like for you, I know you're very loyal to Connor's been very good to you. PPA's been very good to you.
Yeah.
I spoke with Lucy and Matt. PPA's been very good to them.
Yeah.
right? They feel like PPA has been great to them. Obviously, Ben and Annalie, PPA has been good to them. Catherine. So I think that there's some loyalty there. I haven't talked to Callie or Elise or anybody like that, but I'm sure that played into it. I mean, Connor's from Utah. They're from Utah. There's got to be a connection there. Where MLP, now we shift MLP strategy real quick. MLP, I think that they probably threw offers at Ben and Annalie. Okay. In fact, I know they did. And then my guess is that they threw them out there just in case, because you can't not offer them.
Yeah.
But their strategy was not to, they didn't ever feel like they were going to get Ben and Annalie. They went for everybody else.
Yeah.
They went for Fed and Tyson and Riley and, Connor Garnett and Rafa Hewitt and Leah Jansen. They went for like the next, I'll say like the 7 through 25 range. They're like, look, we don't think we're going to get these guys, so we're going to get all the next,
Yeah.
And so it's created this crazy divide now. Because you're right in that. I mean, Connor, I'll say, is right in that you aren't going to test yourself against the number one player in the world.
Yeah.
But it's still a pretty freaking competitive league.
MLP,
yeah.
Sure.
But there's a couple guys still out there. And one of the guys that's still out there, I won't mention his name, but one of the things that his hang up was, he said, I want to test myself against the best in the world. And I can't do that in MLP.
Yeah.
And that's one of his hangups right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just want to, so pickleball has been around for 50, 70 years, something like that. Up to this point, there's been thousands, hundreds of thousands of tournaments. Every single one of those tournaments, almost every single one of those tournaments has been a tennis format where you're playing against somebody and you're moving on just like a normal bracket. Yeah. MLP comes along 2-3 years ago with Steve Kuhn. He's a visionary entrepreneur, and he wants to change the game to a team format.
Yeah.
I don't think the vast majority of players or even public understand what that change. If MLP wins out over PPA, if you want to call it that, I don't know that a lot of people would realize the implications that would have on pickleball, in my opinion. People, when they start practicing, they're going to do rally scoring. They're going to start practicing for team events. The way you drill is going to be different. The way you play, the style, the format, everything's going to be different.
I mean, singles
becomes not as important because you're only doing dream breakers.
Yes, I agree with that. However, I have been told that MLP does plan on having a mix.
Okay.
Of tour style events.
But I would imagine they're still going to favor the team events.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? MLP was built on team events.
Yeah.
And so I think team events will always be their cash cow and it'll always be their number one.
Yeah.
I do think that they are planning on having tour style events. I think that they're going to talk to the players and see what the players want more of.
Yeah.
It's interesting because in talking to lots of players, right, there's the competitors out there that are like, we want to play the world number one.
Yeah.
And then there's the people out there that are like,
they're just trying to get a quick buck, which
some people
you can't bag them for that.
No,
but
there's the ones that just want to get paid, and then there's the ones that are like, we're still competitive, we still want this, we are happy with everybody. Like, just for example, some MLP players, we're happy with everybody that's signed, but yeah, if the fact that we don't have to go through Ben Johns and we can actually win a tournament once in a while doesn't suck.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't fault them for that either. I mean, everybody's got their own reasoning for doing this. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I will say is the types of salaries that are being thrown out right now, I think the level of play, there's two things that can happen. Some people's level of play is going to increase because now they can actually go full-time pickleball.
Yeah, sure.
They can go full-time. They can focus on it. And I think the expectation is going to be that that's what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. On the flip side, this is guaranteed money, guaranteed contracts. And there's going to be players that are going to be like, we're good. I'm getting paid either way.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that happens in most sports. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see who elevates their game and who's playing for that next big contract.
Yeah.
And who's like, yeah, I'm good. This is great.
One thing I will say, and Jimmy's more in the know than I am, but we've been talking to some players on both sides, and I've actually been hearing some of the players on one of the sides is they're having regrets. they're starting to waver a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, as of now, and like we said, this is a very fluid situation. There's a lot of things that can change, tournament formats and everything like that. But one of these players, they mentioned they don't want to play team events every single time. If you were to do a Davis Cup tournament every single month, I feel like it loses its luster, its excitement, its energy. And it's just different than going out there from what we're used to, at least. Yeah. And so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this next year pans out. We'll see if people try to switch, if they're able to get out of their contracts or not. I mean, that's still a pretty gray area. We have legitimate lawyers that are looking into all these contracts, seeing if they're legit or not. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there's been rumors that like the current PPA contracts, the buyouts are only 25,000, and then there's rumors that the new MLP contracts, the buyouts are 500,000, and then you're hearing that well, none of the PPA players have actually signed new contracts. All they've done is sign letters of intent, where the MLP players have signed contracts. Like there's so much stuff out there right now. Obviously, that somebody at some point that everyone's going to sort through. Let me give you a prediction. Okay.
We merge in 3 months.
You will merge.
When?
I'm going to say that there is never a season where PPA and MLP are not merged. So by January, they're merged.
So what do you think for the rest of 2023?
So the rest of 2023, it's going to be a shit show, right? PPA is going to be sparse.
But you think in January, PPA contracted players will be able to play MLP
I think
tournaments?
by January, unless, let me give you my caveat here. J.W. Johnson and Dylan Frazier, Georgia Johnson, Gabe Tardio, Millie Rain, I think they're all a package deal right now. Okay. They're all the Julie Johnson Pickleball Academy is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
I think they're a package deal. They have not decided where they're going yet.
Yeah.
If those players go to MLP, I think MLP feels like they have enough market share, critical mass at that point that they don't need to merge. If those players go to PPA, I think that there's a merger.
Do you think PPA would want to do that?
I don't think PPA would need to at that point.
You think they would, though?
I think that they would. And I think that Connor has already said that he would. I have also heard that Steve Kuhn has said that he would, but he doesn't want Tom Dundon involved. And I know that Connor has said that there's a CNBC article that Connor said that he would like to do the original terms of the deal.
Yeah.
His direct quote was like, I will still do the original terms of the deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's so much bad blood right now that, it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's better for the sport, I think, if they merge.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And I don't know what that would mean for contracts and things like that.
Yeah.
But the reality is both sides have kind of got what they wanted.
Yeah.
At least based off of their strategies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's the quality over quantity thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's quality players in the MLP, but the top players are the PPA. The quantity of players, though, right now, there's only 10 contracted, as of this recording, there's only 10 females under contract for PPA.
Yeah.
Not saying they're not going to get more, right? Where MLP, someone did a breakdown. It's 40 total players right now. It's 49 for MLP. It's 22 for PPA.
The thing you have to consider, though, with PPA, every single event they do, singles, doubles, mixed doubles for men's at least, they have qualifiers. Yeah. Do you know how many people are signing up for those qualifiers? They have a ton.
Oh, for sure.
They're just going to get rid of those qualifiers and put those in the main draw.
Yeah, exactly.
But so I don't think PPA is going to lack on players.
But does that dilute the product for you?
Oh, I'm sure it does, but that's what APP has done. That's what MLP did last year, and they were able to survive.
But are people going to get sick of, Ben and Colin Johns versus Matt Wright and Tyler Leung every single Sunday?
That's what it's been, honestly, the past 2 to 3 years.
And are people getting sick of it?
People have been sick of it, yeah.
Yeah. Annalie and Catherine, literally Annalie Waters in women's singles, she shouldn't even have to show up. They should just give her a medal at this point. Not saying that it can't change. The one thing that I will say that will help PPA that I know MLP has a strategy for this and they can talk about their own strategy, but PPA is still set up to where the newcomers and up-and-comers can break in.
Yeah.
The team format with MLP with only having 96 players, it's going to be a little bit harder.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, how does someone break into MLP? You just put your name in the lottery, the draft.
Allegedly, they're trying to do the minor league pickleball thing,
and then I mean, there's so much to go into, but like MLP, they're guaranteed salaries, and then in addition to that, they have free agency or something like that, where the owners, if they want to, they can spend even more money, and there's not a cap on that right now. Yeah. And so whatever owner has the most or wanting to put the most,
bro, the Yankees get the best players for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how wild is this? So listen to how free agency works. Because I actually just got this explained to me. So the owners are given $500,000 hypothetical dollars. Mm-hmm. And Riley Newman is worth $400,000. And say Jackie Kawamoto, not cow, they're not cows. Kawamoto is $100,000. So you spend that money and you sign those two players. Okay, now you're out of money.
Yep.
The owners can go into their own pocket and they can say, hey, Leah Jansen, I will give you $100,000 to sign with us. And then, hey, Connor Garnett, I will give you $100,000 to sign with us. And give them real money to have them sign. So, I mean, in the end, I mean, that's wild to me. But what that creates, it creates two things. The players are going to get paid, so good for them. But now does it create the same situation that the PPA is in, where you build a dominant team that's just destroying everybody else the entire time because that owner had deeper pockets. Right? So do we have a Ben Johns Annalise situation, but now we have it in a team format? Do you have Riley and Tyson?
I don't think you do in MLP just with rally scoring.
Okay, that's fair.
I think rally scoring, I mean, all these people wanting to go over to MLP to dominate, Riley Newman, for example, is not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. And especially you throw in rally scoring there, that just throws everything off. That just changes everything 100%. So
I agree.
I don't think anything is guaranteed in terms of winners in MLP. And so it was funny. I've heard that his MLP contract was actually lower than the PPA one.
I think it was.
But he switched over because he was sick of not winning.
Exact quote I heard. Okay, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard, I'm tired of being effing number 2. That's what I was told.
But the thing is, if you go over to MLP, like I said, if you get on a bad team,
well,
I mean, he's not even choosing his team. To some extent.
To some extent, yeah. I was told that MLP is going to do their plan right now. The plan for MLP right now is to do 8 team events, 4 tour events where they're just like the PPA, where you pick your own partner. 2 super finals. And then they're going to do 5 what they call friendlies, and those friendlies will be like the
traveling to teams, traveling
to cities. California Black Bears versus Hard Eights at the Pickler in Utah. You know, one of our sponsors. And that's the plan. However, they got a little bit of pushback already. And so they may change that to 8 tour events and 8 team events.
I mean, I come from tennis and I love team events. They're so much fun. I love it. But doing a team event every single time, I just feel like I would get tired of it.
Look at golf, okay? The Ryder Cup and the President's Cup are played every 2 or every 3 years.
Perfect example.
And they're extremely popular. If every single event was a team event, would it lose its luster? Probably.
Exactly.
So I think that's why they need to find that balance. But I will say that Steve Kuhn is a visionary. That dude, we talked to him, Tyler. We've sat down and talked to that guy for hours. He has some ideas. And I mean, I think it's nerve-wracking for the players. It's nerve-wracking for the fans, but I think it's exciting for pickleball in general. And that, you know,
one thing I'll say, one of the tours has a track record for multiple years of running, if you want to call it, a successful pro and amateur. They've been profitable
for sure.
And one has not. And so that's a lot to gamble on.
So I did ask if MLP was going to start running amateur events. And they said that they are.
I mean, they have to. They have to bring in extra revenue. They have to get more exposure. They have to bring in more sponsors. They have to.
They're planning on. They have an entire vision for minor league pickleball. I haven't seen it. I don't know what it is. But maybe we can get Steve Kuhn on here to give us his vision. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's a wild, fluid situation. And the only thing that I'll say is just because a player has been announced, when that first event comes, don't be surprised to see completely different shakeup.
And one thing I'll say as a player and just any in life, we are made a lot of promises. These contracts are massive, but we have to be extremely cautious. And I, for one, do not believe anything, even after a contract is signed, until the money or whatever is promised has been fulfilled.
Hits your bank account.
Yeah. I mean, us as a podcast, we've received multiple people saying that they're going to sponsor us, they're going to give us money.
Wild.
Yet we have not received anything.
Yeah, exactly. Until that money hits your bank account.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
it's crazy.
Everyone's got to be careful. I mean, it's very fun. It's it's a wild time right now. A lot going on. Literally, minute by minute, things are changing.
Yeah. I'll say this. I
want to see your call use or your phone usage.
Oh, dude, I spent. I mean this sincerely. I mean, we'll look it up after this, but I bet I was on the phone, literally talking to somebody for 30 hours the last 2 days.
Me and you never talk on the phone, and I called you probably 20 times the past 2 days.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But like, here's the thing. I don't have a dog in this fight, right? I don't. People are like, oh, well, you're GM for MLP. I'm a freaking assistant GM.
Assistant to the GM.
Assistant to the GM. Like, I don't have a dog in this fight. But the one thing that I will say is that I'm really happy about is that I have seen you. We've been friends for several years now, right? I have other friends that play, and I have seen you guys grind. I've seen you guys travel for 30 plus weeks a year. I've seen you miss your freaking daughter's birthday party because you're traveling.
She didn't know it was her birthday.
Yeah, she didn't know. She's young.
Yeah.
But I've seen you grind, right? I've seen Spencer Smith, guy like Spencer Smith. I've seen him grind.
Yeah.
The dude's selling gems at a gem fair to grind, to help, right? You have clinics. You have people teaching lessons. You have other players with full-time jobs, like in finance, accounting, all these things.
Yeah.
Grinding and then still playing pickleball on the weekends. And they don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like you literally have enough money. I mean, you're in the top 10% of people now.
Yeah.
And most of people,
assuming everything comes through.
Yes, if this comes to fruition, one, it's going to elevate the level of sport because now this is going to be full time for everybody. And number two, I'm excited for my friends. Like I'm happy. Like I love that my friends are winning.
Yeah.
You know, I love that pro pickleball players are winning. Like, dude, there's challenger level players, challenger league players that are gonna, I talked to you about it this morning. They're getting 6-figure contracts.
Yeah.
We're talking about players that have never won a thing.
Have you submitted your name? Have you reached out?
I feel like I need to. I feel like at this point, my duper is high enough that I should at least get like 15 grand. Right? I mean, hook it up.
Oh, man.
So.
All right. Anyways, that was a somewhat quick recap, hopefully,
of
part
one. Tune in for part two.
Yeah, what's been going on. We're going to pause this, stop this, and then go right into questions and answers. We had a lot of people writing in some questions, so hopefully we can get to that right away. So make sure to follow along. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this video, and follow along. We'll see you next time.
Let's go.